Alrighty.
This is Geeks Unleashed, episode 30. Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed, episode 30. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jasmin.
Each week, we normally cover the news of the week and cover Christmas current reviews. However, this week, there'll be 5 of us duking it out for the King of the Christmas movie. In our end of year Geeks Unleashed Christmas Party podcast episode. And we couldn't do it alone, so we thought it'd be fun to invite some guests.
And just in case, there's a spoiler warning. This is a review show. So if you haven't had a chance to keep up with the whirlwind that was 2020, we are going to be kind of quickly brushing through a couple of things. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to pause this and come back a little bit later. And then at the very end, we will tell you some of the best things that we saw, watched, read this year. So
before we jump into battle, though, I just wanted to sort of reflect on the year a little bit, as we were kind of putting this episode together. It's been a crazy year, which started with sort of fires in Australia, COVID-19, which ruined everybody's lives, lockdowns, which ruined my life even further, and obviously Black Lives Matter, Brexit, US elections. However, I think what's united us all actually and probably made us more appreciative than ever is the arts, and I think that's sort of really got us through reading comics, streaming stuff online, and, you know, just even this podcast alone, it's just been sort of, I think this content has really got me through this year. So thanks everyone, well, for joining, but everyone that's like listened to us as well, just smash out like weekly reviews. It's been amazing. So
yeah, definitely. And then to introduce our guest today, we are joined by Stephen Fox of Fox Storytelling. Wave to everyone, Stephen.
How are you guys?
We are also joined by Robbie Phillips of the Pop Culture Philosophers. Hey,
Pop,
Robbie.
pop. What's up?
Oh no, don't you mean station?
Station.
Station.
And we also have Peggy of Peggy at the Movies.
Hi.
All right, so we're gonna dive right in. We're gonna give each other a few minutes. Each of us picked a different non-traditional Christmas film to battle with. I'm not sure who are we gonna get to kick it off?
I've put the ladies first, and I thought it'd be nice for Peggy to go first.
All right,
Okay.
Peggy, you're up.
Here we go. So I picked The Family Man. Nicolas Cage. I mean, he's coming out at that time in the 90s when he was really, really big. And this is like 2000, 2001, right around there. He does a comedy, and I loved it. I mean, it's got Tay Leone, Jeremy Piven. He's going through a whole kind of body, change, like a Groundhog Day body change. Sees a life that he's a high-powered businessman. It's all money, 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 me, selfish. And what would have happened if he would have taken this flight when he left college to go see his girlfriend? And he sees that alternative life, and he decides to pick at the end. Now, there is a part where all of a sudden they're in Valentine's Day because he's in a flashback, but most of it is in Christmas. And it is just a feel-good, happy moral of the story, fun movie. Christmas.
It kind of reminded me of It's a Wonderful Life. Like if it was sort of like a modern take on It's a Wonderful Life, where he's like this rich, selfish investment banker that supposedly he thinks he has everything he wants. And then he gets sort of a glimpse, as Don Cheadle says, before he sends him to an alternate reality.
Oh yeah, Don Cheadle too.
Yeah.
That was the end of that small part.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh my gosh, I could totally. And I meant to, I had it written down who was in it, and then when I lost the piece of paper, and I just thank you for that. He was great in that little part.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I did not like the ending. I was with it for most of the movie, but then it got to the ending and it was kind of like, well, why should Tay Leone give up her trip to Paris, like to keep going with her business, because Nicolas Cage was the one that messed up and decided, oh, you know what, I do kind of want that life.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. Like, because he was at the airport and he didn't bother going back for her. So he went off and had his life.
Yeah.
And now, like you say, like 15, 20 years later or whatever it is, he rocks up and says, no, don't you get on the plane, come out. And she does it. She should have been like, no, fuck you. Like, I'm going to Paris.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Like, so I actually equally was disappointed, but I was equally disappointed that all you see them is just going for a coffee as the titles come up, and I'm like,
right. Well, we see that's the point, is you don't know. It leaves you in that.
So
like,
maybe she did get on a later flight, or she got on.
Also, too, it's like that's what it says to me is that's also what they both led. Like when you see her at the end, she's also living a selfish me life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She didn't get married, she didn't have kids, but that's really kind of both what they wanted.
Yeah.
So maybe we can hope that she got a later flight and met a man in Paris. And maybe he found someone else, but yeah, no, I the film was all right. Like, it was probably a better Nicolas Cage movie. More of his current films just head more and more towards just nonsense.
Right.
But yeah, I think since he did Ghost Rider, it was all downhill. But yeah, some of it's earlier.
I mean, do you remember like in the the 90s and he was it.
Yeah,
it was the 90s. He was the it man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of his earlier stuff like Face Off, Gone in 60 Seconds.
And this is kind of when that was kind of coming to its tail end,
For the film, I thought it was all right. It was a film you probably could have maybe watched with children above 12. Like, it was probably not a young family film, but there's a few sexual references and stuff. But like, other than that, it's generally quite a nice film. And although Don Cheadle had 3 scenes in it, he was amazing in all 3 of them. And I did love the sort of the mysteriousness about Don Cheadle, like when the kid
because they never bothered to explain, like, is he a fairy godfather? Like, are you magic? Like,
is he an angel? Is he like they never said, right?
I felt like it was like the angel thing, because somebody comes in and when he's behind the counter and hands him $1, and then they give him change of $10.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets out a pad and writes down a few notes and says something along the lines of I'm weighing that up, or taking note of that, or something like that.
Right, because it's like he gives her the opportunity to say it's incorrect change, and then it's the test, kind of like, exactly, and that's like a kind of good little sub thing,
Stephen, did you watch it?
I did. I actually, and Peggy, I have a confession that I shared with everybody else earlier. I got my that era of Nicolas Cage movies kind of mixed up and watched half of The Weatherman before I realized I was watching the wrong movie. But that being said, it's like, I do feel like that movie's kind of a moment in time, because there are all of these similar to like the reference that you guys made about Tia Leone being the one to sacrifice her life a little bit. That's kind of, that was something that happened kind of early 2000s, and then people became more like even-handed in the way they handled those kind of things. But like Brett Ratner, he made some good movies. Rush Hour is one of my favorite movies. And then it was like later that things got crazy and his reputation got weird and all that. And Nicolas Cage, he's an awesome actor. Like Raising Arizona is one of my favorite movies. He's Con Air and
Peggy Sue got married. Hello.
He's done some awesome stuff, and a lot of like legit acting stuff. This was like pre-Wicker Man. Somebody else that for me, what was Jasmin? You mentioned a point in like a movie. Was it Ghost Rider? Yeah.
Oh no, I said Ghost Rider.
Mark. Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, for me that it was Wicker Man. When I saw him in the bear suit, I was very grateful for that. That's like one of the most wonderful pop culture moments in my life. But like the other thing is Tia Leone. I watched her on Herman's Head, which was like a really obscure.
Oh my god, I used to love that show.
I know.
Herman's Head. Oh my god.
Well, talk about a blast from the past.
I know it, right? Yeah, man. But I was like, wow, I think she's gonna be a pretty big deal. And she's done some cool stuff, but like Deep Impact, I think, was kind of the peak. Bad Boys was a pretty good role for her too.
Well, Bad Boys kind of kicked her off into the mainstream, I think.
Yeah.
Well, she went film, and then she got older and had kids and family, and then she does TV. That's what they, that was the thing to do, to go into TV.
I always kind of felt like she could have been like one of the top tiers. Not that, not to rank.
Right. No, but I know what you mean. Yeah. So, I think we all get it.
Yeah. But I appreciated more just kind of seeing all those different talents back in that era. And it is a kind of charming story. So.
And it had a lot of Christmas in it. I mean, I'll give it that. They were up in Chicago or outskirts of Chicago. There was
very
snow
cold,
everywhere.
very snowy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It had all the trimmings of a proper Christmas film. There were Christmas decorations, Christmas gifts, Christmas trees. So it all counts.
And in my defense, Weatherman takes place in Chicago. So
yes, it does. And when you think about it, I mean, Weatherman, I mean, I see how you did. I see where you went with that, though. It kind of like there's a bridge that I understand that how you crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly that I'm phenomenally stupid. So
trust me, I was literally watching. Well, we'll wait till we get to Gremlins. Yeah. I found it on AMC and I was like, I recorded it because it was having too many commercials. And I was trying to watch it.
So I think probably we'll move on to our other lady on the podcast, Jasmin. Right. Do you want to kick off yours?
Yes. So Trading Places. Okay. Now, people might say that's more of a New Year's film, but okay, yes.
It did cover Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, though. It covers the whole 2-week spectrum of the holiday season, right?
Yeah.
Right, what you call the holidays.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So Trading Places is a staple in my family. We literally watch it every year. It is a film about revenge in my book. Like that's how I categorize Trading Places. It is a film about revenge. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. It is hilarious. It is very inappropriate. Probably wouldn't hold up to a lot of the standards like in this day and age. This film is in no way politically correct at all. Not at all. I think this movie came out before I was born, but it's one of those.
Ouch!
Sorry.
Ouch!
But it is one of those things that it's a classic in my book. I mean, it starts out with Eddie Murphy being his usual hilarious self.
It was out in 1983.
Yeah, that's before I was born.
Oh shit! Like,
hold on. Let me just light up. Just hold on.
I was like, hold on a minute. Like that film came out when I was born. Oh,
sorry, guys.
Robbie is being suspiciously silent.
Yeah. What's going on?
I was born when this movie had come out.
I was two.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize it. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. My apologies. My apologies.
No, I watched it in the theaters. It was a high school for me. So
there. Oh my goodness. I mean, but again, it's one of those things. I grew up on this movie, so it doesn't feel dated to me. But it kind of starts out with Eddie Murphy. He's this con man. He gets caught up by the police playing this disabled veteran that has no legs, but he really does, obviously. He gets arrested. He goes to jail. And somehow, some kind of way, the Duke brothers, kind of catch up to him, and they make a wager. And they decide, I bet that we can take this poor guy and make him rich, and take this rich guy and make him miserable. And the bet is $1. So $1 between these wealthy millionaire brothers, and they set out to, of course, ruin someone's life. And the life that ends up getting ruined is Dan Aykroyd's life. He's sort of a partner in this up and coming firm. They basically oust him. He gets ostracized by all of his friends. He has nowhere to go. He loses his butler. He loses his house. He loses everything. Yeah, I know, right? like I said, this would not hold up in this day and age. Like nobody would feel sorry for Dan Aykroyd now.
Butler's got to eat too.
Yeah. But it is so funny. There's so many cameos in this film. You've got John Belushi makes a cameo as the guy in the gorilla suit on the train. I mean, it's one of those things where as the movie progresses, it's like Dan Aykroyd's life gets worse and worse and worse, and Eddie Murphy's life gets better and better and better. Eventually, the two of them cross paths and they realize kind of what's happening. So now that they have realized what's going on, they set out to turn the tables on the Dukes. And that is when everything gets really good. But my favorite sequence in the film is probably when Dan Aykroyd gets really drunk, goes to the Christmas party, steals a Santa suit, walks around and terrorizes everyone at the party. He is so belligerent. He is so messed up. He's got this little pistol. I don't remember where he got the pistol from.
Oh, he traded in his watch and got
thank you. So he's brandishing this gun. He steals meat. He like eats raw salmon. He puts all of this food in his pocket, and it is just hilarious. I laugh the entire time I'm watching this movie. And like I said, it's one of those things that my family and I quote all the time. So at the very beginning, when Eddie Murphy is in the jail cell, he's in the jail cell with these two like really hulky black dudes that don't really say too much. And at one point, Eddie Murphy is just kind of like shooting the shit, talking about, oh yeah, I did this and I did that. And this one guy just looks over at him and goes, yeah. And so like, that's one of the things that me and my dad do to each other all the time. Like I come over to the house and my dad will ask me a question and I'll just go, yeah. And we automatically know like that's what we're talking about. So, and then
well,
of course,
I think being young and when we first that was a big that went for a long time.
Yeah. So we still quote that. My brother and I will reenact the scene where like Dan Aykroyd is choking Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy is like, it was the Dukes. It was the Dukes. So there's just so much of this movie that is like ingrained in my family. And then of course at the very end, the Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy get their revenge. They're selling frozen concentrated orange juice stocks. Very, very big deal. So eventually they get the jump on what's going to be happening with this stock before it goes live on January 1st. They make a killing. They make the Dukes poor, which is a thing some people would appreciate in this day and age. Rich dudes like that suddenly becoming poor. And then they like live their best life on this island they take the butler, Coleman. So Coleman has a girlfriend now, and Eddie Murphy has a girlfriend, and then of course Jamie Lee Curtis and Dan Aykroyd wind up together. So they're all on this island, and at the very end of the movie, Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis are on the yacht, and Eddie Murphy and Coleman and their girls are like on the beach, and Dan Aykroyd is like, looking good, Billy Ray, and Eddie Murphy's like, feeling good. It's a feel-good movie. Like it starts out crazy, it's hilarious, and then the rich dudes lose in the end. And the best part, which is very, again, inappropriate, but at the end, when one of the brothers has a heart attack after they realize that they're poor, and the older brother is like, I don't care, fuck him, turn those machines back on, like we have to get our money back.
I do love the difference
one point where they turn in the old guy's homeless and Eddie Murphy turns and gives him a wad of cash and just like drops it in the same they did to him, like he reversed.
Don't they do that in Coming to America? Like, isn't there like a little bit in Coming to America where they're saying two Dukes are like homeless?
That's what it is. It's in Coming to America. And that's what it is.
Gives them a wad of cash.
The Dukes are
Right.
The Dukes are in Coming to America, aren't they? Like it's homeless
that
people.
little bit role. That's what it was. But what I thought of it is like, also, but I mean, I agree with you. It's probably one of the funniest movies ever done. Mm-hmm. But see, how it might work though is like you're never rooting. You go like, oh, it's not you that feels sorry for the audience. Isn't feeling sorry for the rich guys. They're feeling sorry for themselves, which is kind of like how the world, what would be now. And then that, when the tables are flipped. It's really, you're always cheering for Eddie Murphy and them to win.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're always cheering for that. You're never, so in a weird way, it's really off political, but they could, you know what I mean? It could be today.
Yeah, they could remake this movie in this day and age and it would fit with the times. I think, for sure. Yeah.
I think when I was watching it, I think I was quite shocked by, like, I guess it's a film of its time, the racism, but I think the racism in a way made you realize that actually the Dukes were the bad guys, because although they made this bet, which wasn't nice, like when Eddie Murphy's in the toilet in the cubicle, and he basically hears them use inappropriate language, and which obviously I'm not going to say, but like that obviously is the moment that Eddie Murphy's like, no, these guys are, he doesn't say anything, but you can see it in his face. He's like, no, these guys are not actually the guys they're making themselves out to be. So then he finds Dan Aykroyd's character, and that's what I like. I love it from that point onwards, really, like, because it's heading towards something. But I love it that he goes out to seek the drunk Santa with the dirty beard. Dan
Aykroyd is just perfect in this.
I mean, what about Robbie? Have you had a chance to watch it?
Oh yes, I love Trading Places. This movie's great, and what you were talking about, how it would be very appropriate today. It's almost a sad thing because this movie's made in '83, and this is as we're leading into the Reaganomics and the Wall Street era. Greed is good, Gordon Gekko, and all that kind of stuff. So this movie should have been viewed as a warning before it led to that, and now today it's probably even more necessary of a thematic movie. And I love how I don't usually consider it a Christmas movie. I always kind of forget that it takes place in those areas, but it's got a great cast. I mean, Eddie Murphy just dominated the 80s in comedies, some of the best. Dan Aykroyd's golden. John Landis, one of my favorite directors, whether it's horror or whether it's comedy, and he's done some outstanding stellar comedies. Trading Places is one of them. It's a great movie. It's got a great theme to it that's still very relevant and was actually even a little bit, I think, ahead of its time thematically. And it also has Ralph Bellamy, who was in the original Wolfman, and he's one of the old white rich dudes who any movie that makes old rich white dudes look bad, I'm usually down for.
I know, it's a great movie, right?
I mean, that's what I mean. You just it just makes you think so much of what like they just turned down a stimulus for us because it was $600 too much. Do you know what I mean? The millionaires.
It's a great statement on the class system and also racism and the way that they're kind of integrated together.
So
I think it's also incredibly funny.
Yes.
Oh yeah, anyway.
It's not like some kind of like Citizen Kane or nothing. It's really funny.
It's hilarious.
Citizen Kane is funny too.
It starts off quite serious, I think. Like it's actually very serious. It's very serious. It's actually very serious until Eddie Murphy comes in on his weird skateboard thing. And honestly, from the moment he comes in, it does change the film. Honestly, Eddie Murphy is one of probably the best comedic actors going. And then from that point onwards, you're like, okay, this is not the serious film it started as. And then I love the evolution of Dan Aykroyd's character. But actually, Jamie Lee Curtis really stood out for me. One, I was just shocked that a film in 1983 just had so much nudity in it. I didn't think films like that existed back then. Like,
that was her first time doing nudity on film, which I learned from Scream.
Wow, I did not know that.
Oh no, I didn't know that. And I loved her as an actress in this film. Though I thought she was really good. Like I thought she was
great.
And I loved her evolution as a character as well. But she, from the moment you meet her, she's a businesswoman. Like it's business. It doesn't matter whether it's prostitution or the stock exchange.
But she's very strategic in everything that she does. No,
it's a good film. I really enjoyed it, and I haven't seen this for a long time, so I did think it was actually quite a nice Christmas film, and it was a bit feel good because Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd's character and Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and even the butler, they all get a nice happy ending, obviously. And then I guess as an audience, like you say, we get a happy ending because we see the rich guys lose. So,
right. But I think it did have a point of serious too, like when he realized he was getting played by them. Like we brought up the bathroom scene. That's serious. He seriously has to contemplate, like, these people are doing this to me, and the fact that they bet $1.
$1.
That's serious. I mean, that while it's funny and he's making it funny, there's a tone to it too.
Oh yeah, they play the tone in the right places. Not comedy, it's not comedy all the time. In the right places, it is serious and grim.
It's a perfect balance, right? It's a perfect balance.
And uncomfortable in places as well. When they do the racism, it's not, there's no humor around any of that. It's done, the difference between humor and its seriousness. But we'll bring Trading Places to a close, and we will let Robbie jump in with Gremlins.
Gremlins, which is just by far the best Christmas movie of all time. It is by far my favorite Christmas movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies. Jasmin was talking about how she grew up with Trading Places. I grew up with Gremlins. Everything was Gremlins. I loved Gremlin cereal. I had these toys. You would throw them in the water. They would get bigger. It was wild. My life was ruled by Gremlins, and they also terrify me. I'm a big horror movie fan, and the only things that really scare me and have so far to get into my dreams on a consistent basis throughout my whole life are Gremlins and Jurassic Park Raptors. So there's
the Raptors.
Billions, right? This movie's great. Directed by the great Joe Dante. He did The Howling. He did Looney Tunes Back in Action. That's right. That movie's a classic. Daffy Duck steals the Batmobile. What more could you want? Small Soldiers, Piranha. Joe Dante is a master at melding horror and comedy. And that's what this is. And then you bring in the genius touch of Steven Spielberg, because when Chris Columbus, I should say, the different guy. When Chris Columbus initially came up with this idea, it was a straight horror film. Like the mom gets decapitated by a gremlin, and Billy comes home and finds the mom's head at the foot of the stairs. The gremlin kicks it down, and "Do you see what I see? And do you hear what I hear?" is playing on the record player because it's messed up and it's skipping. But Spielberg was like, we could actually make a lot of money if we just kind of Spielberg this up. And that's what he does. And between Dante, Columbus, and Spielberg, and the brilliant actors that are in the film, Zach Callahan, Phoebe Cates, this movie is essential Christmas to me. One of my favorite things about Christmas movies is that during Christmas season, you have people with all these multicolored lights everywhere. And I love the use of color, especially in cinematography in film. Joe Dante uses the hell out of the Christmas colors. The gremlins are green with red eyes. I love it. It is so Christmas. It is so just immersed into the culture of it. And it's directly speaking about Christmas. It's about a father who's so disconnected from his son, trying to worry about his own thing. He doesn't even realize what's going on in his own son's life. And so he tries to give him the best gift possible. But even though they're well-placed intentions, they can be misguided when you don't know what you're doing, and it leads to chaos. So it's about that lack of family connection. It's about consumerism and commercialism in Christmas. The gremlins are literally us shopping, running around like mad, mischievous creatures, messing everything up around the holiday season, just causing chaos and commotion. It's an anti-technology film too. The gremlins, of course, from folklore dating back to I think it's the Second World Wars where the gremlin mythology kind of really started. But, they get into machines and they wreck things. And all the technology in this movie, it doesn't work. All the dad's inventions, the car that never starts and I love that. That's a brilliant thing about this movie. Instead of Billy getting into a car and it doesn't turn on, they set up that the car doesn't work. And then when he needs it, it does work. And so that's fantastic. The use of color, the great characters, the blend of comedy, action, horror. There's some truly scary moments. It is kind of a family film, and it's kind of not. It's one of the films that gave us the PG-13 rating. This was rated PG. Spielberg wanted PG-13 going forward because this is one of those movies that kind of falls in between, but I love it. And it's so quintessentially Christmas. It is literally about a Christmas gift, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. Gremlins.
That keeps on giving.
Planned that.
That's off the dome.
Yeah. He just woke up 5 minutes ago. I read actually that Christopher Columbus, or I think it was Christopher Columbus, he wrote this speech as a writing exercise. So wrote the script for Gremlins as a writing exercise, and he had no intention of ever this being made. But Steven Spielberg came across it and bought it, and like you say, he Spielberged it up. But he actually, what I like is the origin of Gremlins comes from when Chris Columbus was living in an apartment, and during the day he might see the odd mouse or two, but at night he said they used to really come alive, and he could be laying there in his bed hearing like all the mice running around the skirting boards and all that kind of stuff, and that somehow in his brain he created Gremlins from the fear of those mice in his apartment. So it's quite cool to hear the origin. And the other thing I thought was really cool is because I watched this only a couple of days ago. I have seen it before, but not for ages. But as it's opening, I was like, no way, we're Back to the Future. I was like,
it's the same set, right?
Same set, yeah.
It's
so
Hill
this
Valley,
was made,
baby.
Yeah, this is Hill Valley. So like this is made in 1984, and Back to the Future, like honestly, one of my most favorite films ever, like 1985. And I hadn't realized that until a couple of days ago. I was like, amazing. So like I do see where you're coming from. Obviously, like it's a lot of these type of films. like they've got the horror, which is kind of the obstacle, but like the family reuniting at the end when they reunited. So they kind of, I wouldn't say they're not together at the beginning, but the dad is kind of preoccupied with his machinery and gadgets rather than his children and his wife. And then you've got the obstacle, which is he's introduced this shitstorm into the family, and then they kind of have that sort of coming together, and like the mum in a way comes into her own, like having that fight and killing that gremlin within the Christmas
she's BA,
tree.
dude. She's
like,
more gremlins than anybody in that film. You know, she's like Rambo.
I was going to say you don't see a lot of that in horror or action type films. The mum plays more the background character, and it's the children that normally go off and kill the whatever it is in the film. And so when we had like a good 10-15 minute fight scene with the mum and the gremlin, I was quite impressed that they would put in a scene like that. So
that's a great moment, you know. And also I forgot to mention the music. Jerry Goldsmith did the music, the whole dun 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 dun. Jerry Goldsmith gave us so many great scores, including Star Trek, the motion picture, which gave us the Next Generation theme. Another reason why Gremlins is the best Christmas movie. Don't worry, it all works out on paper. Also the
6 degrees of
yes, right. But also the Gremlins themselves. Even watching it today, it doesn't feel dated. It feels like they're real characters. Gizmo, who is like just the best, most adorable creature ever in a film. They still look real. They still look like they're actually there. They're moving. There's no CG because it was way before that, but it just still holds up. I just love it.
You know, I have 2 takeaways from Gremlins. The first, Gremlins fed into my fear of things that have lots of teeth. So like, I was terrified of the Gremlins just because of the way that their mouth looked. Like I couldn't get past that when I was younger watching Gremlins.
That and the claws. That's like one of our mankind's
the claws never really bothered me. It was the teeth for whatever reason. Those teeth really got me. And the second takeaway.
That's one of the first fears we ever had, by the way. It was like like teeth and claws, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second takeaway was always follow the directions. Like they told you how to avoid this entire situation at the very beginning, and you just threw all of that out the window. Like follow the directions and everything should be fine.
Yeah, but we're not ready yet, you know, and that's the ultimate point, you know, because you got the guy who has Gizmo at first kind of representing this older, wiser way of thinking, and then the dad's representing this new way where we have all these new inventions and technology, but they don't necessarily work or make our lives better. So I like that dichotomy there.
What do you think about they're going to make a Geeks Unleashed? Geeks Unleashed. I wish I were going to make Geeks Unleashed. A Gremlins TV show. Like,
I'm cool with that. It was like animated Secrets of the Mogwai. It's going to be an HBO Max. It's done by what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. It's the cat that does TKO. He's like the showrunner or something like that, or a head writer. So I'm excited for it. And they keep talking about Gremlins 3. It was recently in the news cycle again, but this happens like every year. They talk about Gremlins 3. But
my only takeaway with it, Phoebe Cates. When I completely had forgotten she was in it, I see her and I just remember she was the it. Like she was the girl.
She actually had quite an awesome moment as well. Like it was pretty dark, like for a comedy horror, and then she turns around telling in this story about her dad dying in the chimney, and I was like,
story.
Oh no, I was like,
she was just like the it actress of that time period. Like to me, it just represents this whole time. You know, she was wonderful.
Absolutely, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah,
Gremlins,
I mean, she was just, I just loved her.
That moment though, where she's talking about the Santa, and she also has a great moment before that, where she's like, not everybody has to like Christmas. And a lot of people feel that pressure. Like, you know, sometimes for a lot of people, Christmas is one of the most depressing times of the year. Yeah. And so I like that they had that moment, then that really almost out of place moment where she talks about Santa. And I love in the sequel, she tries to do the same story with an Abraham Lincoln about President's Day. And they just kind of like brush her off to the side. Like, that's enough of that.
Well, we'll tie up Gremlins, and Robbie's passion for Gremlins has been clearly observed. And we will move on to Stephen Fox and While You Were Sleeping.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, Gremlins is like a fantastic Christmas movie. I know you're ready to move on, but yes, I agree. No. Now, the one thing I was going to say, Gremlins and Terminator are 2 series that were part of my childhood that really are much more horror movies than what they're remembered as. And Robbie, you were talking about it being kind of family friendly, and that's because back when those movies came out, families watched them. They were never family friendly.
Exactly. Right? Watched them anyway.
Yeah, man. Like Goonies, holy crap, man. Like in the first 10 minutes, they're gluing a penis on upside down. So it's like, anyway, but yeah, man. And one of the smartest things in Gremlins is, okay, so the threat of the villain is only as intimidating as the hero is vulnerable. Like, how much does he have to lose? You know what I mean? So you have Baby Yoda and Billy, and they're both like, I mean, Gizmo is so blanking adorable that, of course, nobody wants him to die. And then Billy is this guy who has like mounds of potential. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man.
Look,
yeah,
man.
has like,
here you go.
He has all this unrealized potential. Yeah, man. It's just, that movie is brilliant. And the last thing I'll say is Phoebe Cates, her character, I think her name's Kate, her father, when I was a kid and I saw this movie, I thought, that is the dumbest human that has ever freaking lived. What moron would actually climb down a chimney? Anyway, that's all. But okay, so as far as While You Were Sleeping, if you guys haven't seen it, like people listening, it's
you really can stream it on Disney Plus, by the way.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, actually, that's how my wife and I stumbled across it. And we have a daughter that's 12, and we're at that point where we're realizing, holy crap, man, she's not a little thing. She's a person. And I mean, they're all people, you know what I mean? But kind of.
She's a child with opinions, you mean?
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah, man.
I swear they have them from like 4 onwards. Like,
they do, man. Yeah, and they can't coexist with yours. You know what I mean? It's like, no, but so While You Were Sleeping, she is really into the Princess Bride. That's one of her favorite movies. So we're starting to discover all of these like classics. And we ran across While You Were Sleeping, and holy crap. I mean, it has elements of a Christmas movie. It's all about family. The story it focuses on Lucy, who my youngest daughter's name is Lucy. So she loves it now too, but it's so funny, man. So Love Potion number 9.
Oh my God, I love that movie so much.
Bullock and
While You Were Sleeping, and Miss Congeniality. So it's so funny. Sandra Bullock, I have always regarded as one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, but she is continually cast as this unassuming, shy, oh, she's pretty. Oh, I hadn't noticed that she's pretty kind of situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing in While You Were Sleeping. She's lonely by herself, very shy. But she works in a toll booth, not a toll booth, in a booth essentially to get to the train station.
Ticket office.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And this guy comes through every single day on his way to work, and she just falls in love imagining what he's like. Anyway, he falls on the tracks and she panics. She doesn't know what to do. So she just, out of sheer instinct, she jumps on the tracks, rolls him off, and gets swept up into this whole story. And anyway, it's all about her connecting with his family under this like crazy assumption about who he is, and figuring out like that this family is like, their relationship with her is based on this lie, but it becomes something really sweet. It's one of the sweetest movies I've ever seen. And it's not, it doesn't have like a crazy amount of content that, you wouldn't want to watch with your parents. For me, it's not so much watching it with your kids. Watching something with your parents is the real test, because your kids, you can look at them and go, well, that's life, it's coming. But when you're with your parents, you're like, I don't endorse this. I'm a better person than this. Anyway, but it's a really innocent movie, and it has, Sandra Bullock is just a very charismatic actress. She just exudes this feeling of being friendly and approachable and just sweet. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie, and it's set all throughout Christmas and a little bit after. So anyway,
Again, I rewatched it this week, and I thought it was actually really lovely. Probably a long time ago that I watched this film, and I think Sandra was in one of my other favorite films, Speed, with Keanu Reeves, and unfortunately, Speed 2.
You say unfortunately, but she cashed the check.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably not unfortunately for her. She still got work afterwards, which was good. So, and I imagine
she won an Oscar afterwards, didn't she? No. Yes, she did.
Actually, do you know what though? She was amazing in Gravity. Like Gravity's so good. Like, even George Clooney was bearable in Gravity. So,
come on. He's so smug. That little head shake and grin. Come on.
I adore George Clooney. Y'all shut up.
Not in Batman though. So
yeah, that's the Batman.
No one does. No one enjoys that Batman.
No, do you know what? The other day I saw on Netflix. Sorry, I'm completely dropping this now. Like I saw that there's I forgot the name of it. The George Clooney film that's coming out in about 2 or 3 days. No, probably about 10 days on Netflix. It's sort of an end of the world type of thing with George Clooney. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah,
I have a screener of it, but I haven't even had a moment to take a look at it yet.
But like honestly, I actually said to my wife, I was like, I normally
bag
on George Clooney. Yeah. I was like, I normally bag on George Clooney, but I was like, this actually looks pretty good. Like, I would watch this.
Michael Clayton was phenomenal.
He has done some amazing stuff. But my mom used to tell me something about. She's like, if when handsome or attractive people know they're handsome or attractive, they're not handsome and attractive.
Yeah.
He's just little grin just says, I am the handsomest human you've ever seen. And he is.
Yeah, really. He was on TV and tried so hard for years, you guys. He was on Facts of Life.
He was on ER.
But that's where he became famous. Yeah. But you don't understand, he would have been working for like 20 years already. Just nobody knew who he was. ER made him famous. ER made him George Clooney.
Yeah. Well, everybody was like, no, he's too good looking.
I'll bring it back to while we were sleeping rather than George Clooney. We can talk about George Clooney, maybe a whole episode or something like that.
Right.
Like,
I'll be on that one.
Yeah. We'll start with Batman and Robin, and we'll just work our way upwards. And
sounds good.
Because you can only go up from there.
Yeah, you can only go up from Batman and Robin. So, although do you know what? When I watched it at the cinema, I actually did enjoy it. It was on reflection, I felt it was terrible.
Oh yeah, it's like Scooby-Doo. You grow up and it stinks. Yeah.
So while you were sleeping, when I watched it, I thought, do you know what? Actually, like you, when I put it on, my 6-year-old started watching it with me, and it's a film that you can watch with any child. Like, there's nothing offensive in this film at all. And my 6-year-old is asking me question after question after question. Why is she lying about being engaged to him? Why is she why is she doing that? And I was
That's a valid question.
I was like, it's a good question. Like, and I was like, I get where you're coming from. It's not good to lie. Like, but no, what I love it. Sandra Bullock is so cute and adorable throughout the whole film. I was like, oh, she's someone I'd love to be friends with. Like, her character, I'm sure in person she's lovely too, but like her character is so adorable throughout the whole film. And I love her relationship to her landlord and the landlord's son, and I forget all their names, but like I love just her interaction. Like, the door knocks and she's like, no, I said Joey, like, no Joey, I won't go out with you, no, I won't do this, won't do that. But I love their journey as well, although he's a real sort of third-rate character in the movie. At the end, like when they're hugging and she's like, come on, do you want to come in and try on some of my shoes? Like, their journey as well was like a real secondary storyline throughout the film, but it was just, she's just adorable with everybody. Like, and so the journey as well, like throughout the film, that, like you just said, she's lonely, and she doesn't just fall in love with Bill Pullman's character, she falls in love with their family. And it is honestly a really good feel-good sort of Christmassy movie. And I actually really enjoyed this. I probably would not watch it straight away, but I'd probably be happily to put this on my Christmas list for next year. So,
it goes back to what Robbie said though, with like the family ties. Like, her mom died when she was very young. Her dad passed away a couple of years ago after a long like hospital bout with what I can assume is cancer. They don't really say in the film. But but like you said, she's lonely, and it's Christmas, it's the holidays, and she can see all of these other people that are spending time with families and that sort of thing. And so she clings to this family because she doesn't have anything else. And it's not that she's like actively lonely and miserable. It's just that once she finds this family, she realizes what she's missing out on because she doesn't have anything like that. So watching that journey, and it's kind of like the reverse, like watching them fall in love with her too. Is a really fun part of that movie.
Oh yeah, because the Godfather guy, he knows from the very beginning that she's lying, and he's on her side, and but he kind of doesn't want to let her go either, so he doesn't want to tell the family that it's a lie. So yeah, but
he also doesn't want her to wind up with Peter either.
No, yeah.
Peter, you're a putz.
Yes,
actually. The one thing that I always overlook, Bill Pullman. Holy crap. Okay, so to me, he's the anti-Clooney because he's like so charming, but he's so like everyman.
Yes,
like,
he's very unassuming.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, he's awesome. He's like, I'm falling in love with him watching the movie. It's like, anyway, it's just, And
he was
both of them balance each other really well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, like with Bill Pullman, he was in, well, he's been in loads of things, but when I see him, I can't help but see him as the character he played in Torchwood. I don't know if any of you watched Torchwood at all. But he played a pedophile serial killer.
Oh no!
Like in Torchwood,
Yay.
and seeing him in this love interest role, I was like, I'm finding it really difficult, like to just.
Oh my god!
It's not. I honestly like his cat, because I remember seeing him in Independence Day as like the president, and he was brilliant in Independence Day. Other than his cheesy speech, but like,
come on, that's the best part of that
movie. Maybe it's because I'm British, like
a British thing, man.
I know. Like, maybe if he got up there and talked about how wonderful the British were, I'd probably be down. But in Torchwood though, like he played this such horrible character and played it so well. And then seeing him play the love interest in While You Were Sleeping, though, it does show though his acting chops. The fact that he can play such different roles. I really love Bill Pullman.
Totally off subject. I feel the same way about Aaron Eckhart because he was in this film called Towelhead, which offensive title, but it was about like this girl who was having a really hard time like coming of age, and it was taking place in Houston, which is where I live, and her father was some kind of engineer at NASA or something like that. Anyway, like Aaron Eckhart played this creepy neighbor next door and he molested her. So when Aaron Eckhart was in when he was in The Dark Knight, I was like, I don't like you, Harvey Dent.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I totally get that. Like they play one really bad role, but that bad role sometimes really sticks with you, and it's hard to see them in anything else.
I know. Yeah, there's a lot of times where you see an actor playing one real intense role, and they play it so well. When you see them in a completely opposite role, it is quite hard to separate sometimes.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that this came out in the 90s and Torchwood came out, I don't know, 5-10 years ago or something. So he obviously did Torchwood afterwards. But yeah, no, I really liked him in this role in While You Were Sleeping. He was a nice everyday man, like, you know, and I liked seeing the sort of the carpentry and, you know, and his ambitions to sort of be his own man and separate from his dad and run his own business and steal his brother's girlfriend and you know, like,
hey, look, he played cards for us. He won her fair and square playing cards.
But
2 out of 3.
Yeah. I actually did like how honourable he was about it when she said, like, give me a reason not to do it, and he's like, I can't give you a reason.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I did like his character, and I enjoyed Simon's character, but the whole film is just a really nice, feel good film.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, it's your turn.
Yeah. Caught me off guard then. Like,
it's your podcast.
Call me. Normally it's me that moves it on. Like, anyway, anyway, I am doing Die Hard, 1998. So we are all
88.
alive. 1988. Sorry, yeah, 1988. Anyway, but we were all alive either way. Set in Los Angeles, which I have been to. Anyway, there's two types of Christmas films, I feel, and I was thinking about this a lot actually, because you hear a lot of people arguing that Die Hard is not a Christmas film, and in fact, I've had quite a lot of conversations. I had a big conversation earlier about it, but with other people about how Die Hard's not a Christmas film. But I kind of think, no, there's two different kinds of Christmas films. You've got festive ones, which is kind of like While You Were Sleeping, Home Alone, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got non-festive Christmas films like Gremlins, Die Hard. What I think, the festive ones are like, with kids in, and family ones around the fireplace, and those kind of ones. But the non-festive ones like Die Hard, and that's kind of why I argue that it's a Christmas film. Firstly, it's set at Christmas. It's the big win. It's got to be set at Christmas to be a Christmas film, and that's why like Die Hard 1 and 2 I think are Christmas films.
Yes.
While Die Hard 3 onwards
not a Christmas movie.
Non-Christmas films. So you start with the whole. If you take away all the horribleness, this is a journey about a man who essentially comes home for Christmas and arrives in LA and goes to a Christmas party, an office Christmas party, and something goes wrong. We'll cover that in a minute.
Horribly wrong.
Horribly wrong. However, his journey is to be reunited with his wife and children at Christmas time. So if you summarize it like that, it's a Christmas film. Stick with me. So anyway, as we know, the premise, it all goes wrong. So John McClane, if you don't know who John McClane is, honestly, I don't know
what are you doing with your life?
Yeah. So I personally don't think it's Christmas until John McClane steps off that plane as the sort of grouchy type character. So again, this is where the stereotypical Christmas movie, the Scrooge type character that he is, he's kind of the Scrooge, the Grinch, that's sort of the role he fits into during this movie. He arrives in LA, goes to this party. There's friction between him and his wife, which we know is going to be the obstacle that they overcome by the end of it, which they do in a really nice way as the titles go up to, again, I will come to the music later, but there's a nice Christmas bit of music that comes on as they get into the car. And so he arrives at this party and he goes off to sort himself out as shit happens, as we know. So Hans Gruber takes over the Nakatomi Tower, and chaos ensues. And John McClane obviously has to save the day. And this is what I love is that the sergeant who he forms a bond with over the radio, in my mind, is the sort of voice of conscience, as you will, Jacob Marley type character of the movie. So the two of them will be having a nice relationship throughout the movie as the Scrooge and Jacob Marley of the movie. And and it's sort of a nice little buddy cop type scenario. And as he goes around the building, he starts to eventually go from having no weapons to gaining weapon after weapon. And it wouldn't be out Christmas, wouldn't be Christmas if it wasn't opening the elevator door and seeing a man with a bloody t-shirt that says, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho," written in blood. I mean, you can't, it can't be Christmas until you've all got blood in your shirt saying that, and in all my mind, it's not Christmas really until you see Hans Gruber falling down the side of that building. So now,
yes, thank you, Robbie. Thank you.
I mean, it's the best CGI that ever was.
It's a good CGI because they dropped him before they were supposed to. So they were counting down, and they dropped him sooner than they said he would. So that reaction that he gives when his eyes get really wide, that is actually Alan Rickman freaking the fuck out because they dropped him before he was expecting to be dropped.
Oh, I did not know that. That makes it even better. Now, music-wise, come on, Run DMC, Christmas in Hollis. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a tune, without doubt. when he says, "Come on, haven't you got some Christmas music?" and that dude in the limo sticks
Arlo.
this in, I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's loads of Christmas themes, Christmas music throughout. I mean, like I said, the titles that come up nicely as they're sort of driving away. Let It Snow. I mean, I think Let It Snow's played earlier in the film as well. Don't ask me that.
Anyway, it's very classic Christmas music.
It's very. There's a lot of classic Christmas tunes in there. Mm-hmm. We've got Snow. We've got. It's a nice, feel-good family Christmas movie. I would argue that it's probably 12 up, but you could all sit there and embrace the fact that a man gets home to his family and he's going home for Christmas. There you go. And that is why Die Hard is the best Christmas movie there ever was.
Well, I'm going to start off with this. Yep. Probably one of our greatest presidents ever, Mr. President Barack Obama, was doing a book tour. Did a guest star on Jimmy Fallon just the other day. And Jimmy was asking him questions, and he happened to ask, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, brilliant.
And the answer from Mr. President Barack Obama is no. It is an action movie during Christmas.
Love him,
that is incorrect.
It's a Christmas movie. It is
Not every president is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Exactly. He wouldn't be re-elected now. If I could vote, there would be
any movie that opens with Christmas music is a Christmas movie, period. Because why else would you put Christmas music in a movie that wasn't about Christmas?
Yeah. 100%.
It's a Christmas movie. 100%.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
I just thought it was really funny how I just found out, and then right at that point, I happened to catch that, and I just started laughing. I was like, "That's got to be my go-to quote."
I want to talk about Alan Rickman. Come on, Alan Rickman.
He was great. My favorite scene with him in it was when he kidnaps when he finally takes Holly, and she realizes are you shitting me? You guys are thieves? And she was like, you're just a common thief. And he stops what he's doing and gets in her face. And he's like, I am an excellent thief. And I was like, yes, let's just so we're clear, he's an excellent thief, not a common thief.
I love it as well. When him and John McClane kind of meet up, and he's like, suddenly his voice changes, and he's like, oh, save me.
When he's doing his American accent,
he's like, oh, don't shoot me, and all that. And
that's my ringtone.
I'm not going to try and do an American accent.
His American accent in that film cracks me up when he's like, "Oh gosh,"
exactly.
It's so freaking funny.
Yeah,
he's
awful.
He's doing an Austrian trying to do an American accent or something like that. It's so funny.
It's very weird.
You know that the tower scene though, I do love that. In Jump to Die Hard 3, the summer movie, when John McClane finds out that the villain in Die Hard 3 is related to invite to Alan Rickman's character, and it flashes back to, like you just said, Alan Rickman falling off the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love it. I have to say, I do love a trilogy that references a earlier film and brings things round. Like, that is a good trilogy move. So I did like the fact that they didn't let Alan Rickman's character go. Mm-hmm. And that Han's sort of legacy did live on beyond the first film. It's always good when a movie villain goes beyond their actual movie and brings somebody back who's connected. So I thought that was a good twist in the third film. So yeah.
Well, I had observations. One is, what's McClane's wife's name again?
Holly.
Holly. Yeah.
There you go. Christmas movie.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that as my other point. They called her Holly. That's it.
But I will say this though. Yeah. I don't think it's a Christmas movie. I think it's a movie. It could be an Easter movie if you want to watch it on Easter. It's like Back to the Future.
People don't have Easter office parties. When was the last Easter office party you went to?
There is also no Easter music other than church hymnals.
No,
I'm 90% kidding, but it's like Back to the Future. It's one of those movies that if you want to watch it, you can make it appropriate to watch because it's freaking awesome.
It's a Christmas movie. He gets off the plane. Movie, yeah. He's bringing Christmas gifts. The first song you hear in the film is a Christmas song. They're taking place on, it takes place on Christmas Eve. They're having a Christmas party. There are Christmas trees. There are Christmas gifts. This is a Christmas film.
I sense this is not the first time you've had to argue this.
I make this argument every year. Every year.
I argue with this with my wife constantly. Like when me and my wife watched this with me while we were watching it, and she was like, "No, it's not a Christmas film." And I was literally pointing out. I was pointing out thing after thing. I was like, "How can you not tell me it's a Christmas film?" And then she said about I could get around Die Hard 2 more being Christmas film than this one.
Why? Because it takes place in DC and there's snow on the ground.
But she was coming around.
Your voice just went up an octave.
That was a little elevation there.
Yeah. But anyway, whether we think it's a Christmas movie or not, as it's on this list, we would say it's a Christmas film because I put it on there. There you go. Do you know what though? Like I've gone on playlists of movies and stuff, and people put it on there. So I did actually. Do you know what? I did read somewhere that there was a vote in America. I haven't got the exact numbers, but there was a vote somewhere in America of whether Die Hard's a Christmas film or not. And unfortunately, this doesn't help my case. But 66% of people that voted said it wasn't a Christmas film.
Well, 66% of the people are wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
it's happened before.
To be honest, if they voted in 2016, it might have been a. Sorry, I'm kidding. Anyway,
no comments.
So we'll bring Die Hard to a close, but I would say overall, it's a good film, whether it's Christmas or not. And who can't love Bruce Willis back in his heyday?
He was like the seventh choice to play that character. Like,
was he?
Yes, they first was Stallone. He was busy. So then they went to Arnold. Arnold was busy. Then they even went. I want to say they even tried for like Charles Bronson and he was busy. Like they went through quite a few people before they finally got to Bruce Willis. Because before this, like the only thing that Bruce Willis had done was like Moonlight. And so like he had done a lot of comedy stuff. Yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. Like he's done a lot of comedy stuff, but he hadn't really done anything actiony. So this like launched his action career. But he was definitely he was
funny. He was funny in this film. Like
he's hilarious.
Yeah, but they were nervous though because he didn't fit that mold.
Right, exactly. Because they thought that nobody would buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, so what? This is a very quick tangent. Speaking of, so trading places, not the home repos. Anyway, so that was imagined to be a Richard Pryor, Gene Hackman vehicle,
which would have been phenomenal.
It would have been, but Eddie Murphy, holy crap!
Yeah, he's great, so great.
Sorry, I'm a tangent.
That's fine. Like, so if you guys want to have a quick little vote in the chat, you can't vote for your own movie, but put your vote forward for the other movie that you've heard in this chat. I will vote last. And whilst does everyone know how to get the chat up? There's an option somewhere on the Zoom.
If you hover over the bottom of the screen, there's a chat.
I see it.
There's a chat option. So whilst everybody is voting for their other Christmas film, I will tell you a Christmas joke. Who is Santa's favorite singer?
Who?
Elvis Presley.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I have one. Okay. Why does Santa have 3 gardens?
Because he's 90-year-old grandmother?
So he can ho, ho, ho.
Oh.
Ka-ching!
These are terrible.
I got another one. How does Darth Vader enjoy his Christmas turkey?
With one hand?
On the dark side. So I
sorry about that.
I didn't say. I was gonna. So I've put my vote in the chat, and of the films that have been voted for, Die Hard does win the Christmas movie.
Die Hard also won on our Twitter poll as well.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So.
Well.
The other films we voted for were individual. So Gremlins, Trading Places, and While You Were Sleeping all got 1 vote each, and Die Hard got 2 votes. So with that said, Die Hard wins our Geeks Unleashed Christmas.
Yes, it's a Christmas movie.
I demand a rematch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, next time we do this, we'll put a few more people on here, and maybe we might get to Gremlins. So, having said that, though, I do think they all really nice, wonderful Christmas films. Like some of them more family friendly than others, but like they are all good Christmas feel good films, and they all kind of like if you look at it, they're all the same thing. Bruce Willis comes home for Christmas, has to kill a bunch of people before he gets home.
A minor thing, it happens.
Christmas spirit.
Yeah, Gremlins the same thing.
Kill a few people.
I have to say, Gremlins scared you as is scarier for kids. Like I even just rewatching. I remember how scared I was.
Yeah,
that it scared me. Whereas Die Hard didn't scare me.
Yeah.
I think even the Family Man, the obstacle was kind of different. The obstacle was himself. Like he had to get over his own problems that he just wanted to sleep around and earn money. So that was actually the obstacle was him changing. Trading Places was the obstacle of taking down the Dukes and actually forming a nice relationship before ending actually with. Not necessarily ending up in they kind of form a family bond, the butler and
they do.
It's not a traditional family, it's more a family of friends.
It's like a found family.
It's more actually that is probably out of these movies, it's a found family rather than a family of blood, where the rest of them are a family of blood getting back together. But they're all good Christmas feel good films, just there's an obstacle in each one that you need to get over that hurdle. So thanks everyone for sort of going through that. But before we sort of finish up, it would be nice to sort of go around the virtual room and just hear a little bit of what else you may have enjoyed this year, like your favorite book, song, album, TV, movie, just randomly off the top of your head if you've got something like that. And Stephen, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I ran across Marvel used to have an epic line for indie comics, and there was a title called Elf Quest by a couple, Wendy and Richard Denny, and actually Penny, sorry. And it's one of the most overlooked comics ever published. It went on for I believe 13 volumes of about 350 pages each. Wow. They did it for 30 plus years. Wow. It is one of the richest, most illustrative fantasy stories ever put in comics. If not, I can't think of anything that comes close. It follows just a group of elves who are finding their legacy and destiny at the same time. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. I just reread the first volume again recently. So,
always keen to add new books to the stack. What about Robbie? What about yourself? Anything you've particularly enjoyed this year?
Well, I'm putting my list together right now, my best comics of the year, and I haven't quite nailed down what I think is the best, but definitely one I think is one of the best and definitely needs to have a little bit more push behind it. I don't see so many people talking about it. Is an image book called Blue and Green, and it's by Rom V, and I believe the artist is Renand Arcay or something like that. But Rom V is one of my favorite writers right now. He did These Savage Shores over at Vault Comics last year. Blue and Green is a really great story about this dude who goes home. He finds a picture of some random saxophone player with his mom stuff. His mom just recently passed away. He's been away from home. He comes back. He becomes obsessed with this photo and finding out who it is because it connects him to his mother's life before she had children, and she was really into the jazz scene. So the book is very heavily influenced by jazz as far as the culture, but also the way that jazz music can be like improvised, and they go on these tangents and they come back to a main theme. That's what they do with the book through the structure of the writing, the artwork. It is beautiful. It's amazing. It is by far one of the best books of the year. It's a graphic novel, Blue and Green. Fantastic.
I have to be honest, I've not heard of it. I tried to keep on top of comics, even if I don't read them all, just to be aware of everything. I'm gonna seek that out. I've got next week off. I would be keen to read that. If I can squeeze in some me time as well as looking after two little girls. So
Fantastic.
yeah, no, cheers for that. Peggy, what about yourself?
I didn't have a comic. I have
Doesn't have to be a comic.
Documentary, right? No, I'm just saying. Like my thing was, I was at Grinchy. This is about 2 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and it just, sometimes everything hits you. And LA was heading into another lockdown. Our hospitals are overflowing. I went, of all the random things, I had made an appointment a few days earlier at the nail salon, and I went in, and they had to close the next day, and it just, like, a lot of things just got to me, like it just hit me. And I came home and I was like, I started watching this movie they'd sent me a screener of Operation Santa. And it's something I didn't know about. When all the kids write Christmas letters to Santa, it goes to the United States Postal Office. And now, since like 1940, there's a group that gets together. There's organizations, and you adopt a letter, like you say you're gonna do things. And these people are all volunteers, and they've been doing this, and now it's online. And it's just about giving and about happiness and the joy, and how parents even write and ask for certain things, and different kids from, like, when Paradise, California burned down, of the different type of toys. They go from city to city across the states, and what Chicago asked for, and what a small town asked for, just the difference in everything. And it just, like, it was what I needed at that moment to wipe away the Grinchies.
What was that on?
It's called Operation Santa, and I believe it's on video on demand right now. It might be on Prime coming up, I think. But it was just,
that sounds really sweet.
You just need something, and it was just right. Like, oh my gosh, yes, all this is happening, but look at this. Yeah. Look how amazing something can still be.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And
like a hope, but just a ray of hope, just a slight, like I said, to chase away the Grinchies.
Yeah. And Jasmin, yourself?
So no surprise, I'm going to pick an anime. I'm
wearing
a Lemillion shirt here. Someone just gave me this as a Christmas gift from My Hero Academia. So one of the best things I watched this year was something that I've been waiting for since the beginning of the year, but it's Haikyuu to the Top Part 2, the second half of the 4th season. This is an anime about boys high school volleyball. And this anime really, like, got to me because I played volleyball in middle school. So it's one of those things where it's nostalgic for me in the sense that, like, I understand the sport from a player perspective. So I really enjoy it. The characters are fantastic. And we finally have gotten to the part where Karasuno High School is playing in the national tournament. It's super sweet. They are the underdogs. Everyone has counted them out. Nobody thinks that they're going to do anything. So the entire second half of the first season is them playing another team in Japan called their Inarizaki. So it's great. Like, yeah, some people are like, yeah, but it's literally half a season about one match. And I get that. But it's like a culmination of the entirety of the first 3 seasons. So we finally get a team that has finally come together. They're finally playing as a team. Everybody is connecting. Everybody's firing on all cylinders. And it's so much fun to root for the underdogs. So one of the best things I watched this year, definitely got to give it to Haikyuu to the Top Part 2. Also, Robbie, if you are into jazz, there is a jazz anime called Kids on the Slope that takes place in the 60s in rural Japan. But it kind of, the people that did, like, all of the background stuff and all the behind the scenes stuff, like, they actually pulled in Japanese jazz musicians to do the music and the lyrics and all of that stuff. But it's basically the same thing. It's like these kids that are kind of improvising and they're playing stuff. Like, these kids are 14, 15, and they're obsessed with John Coltrane. But it's a phenomenal series. It's only 12 episodes. It's really, 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 really cute. If you're into it, Kids on the Slope. It's on Crunchyroll.
I have to check it out. I wrote it down in my little note.
You've added that to the 2 watch list, haven't you? Like, at number 372, you know,
you know it.
You know, do you know what? Like, obviously, 4 Americans, 1 British guy on here. Like, most of my content is American. Like, you know, I read American comics. I don't really like British comics. I watch mainly American TV, films. Very rare does English stuff come across me that I actually like and enjoy, and it is because we just don't have the money over here to fund really good, strong content. But when we do, it's fucking amazing. Like, you know, Luther is probably one of the best shows ever made.
Holy crap, yes.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you've not seen Luther, fucking just what's going on? Like, and,
no joke.
Honestly, Luther's probably one of the best police shows ever made. So, Gangs of London that came out in the summer, in the middle of all the crap that was going on this year. I didn't watch it, like, but then Jasmin said it's coming out over there on AMC. Let's review the first 3 episodes for the pod. So we did, and I carried on going. I was like, this is brilliant. Like, it's like 8 episodes, and there is going to be a season 2 at some point, but obviously because of COVID, everything's been thrown out the window. However, it ends on like the biggest cliffhanger. Honestly, it's such a good show. So it's basically about gangs of London, but there is one family that kind of rule the gangs, and that family is the Wallace family. And the head of the Wallace family is killed off in the first 5 minutes. There's no spoilers here. He dies straight away, and he you know, he's gone. He does come back in flashbacks throughout the show. However, it then becomes about his mental nutcase son, Sean Wallace, taking over the throne, and then teaming up with undercover policeman Elliot Finch, and Elliot Finch. What's the actor's name?
Shelby Diop.
Yeah, I can't say it. So yeah, like, but he is honestly one of the best actors I have seen this year. That his fight scenes are so brutal.
The fight choreography in Gangs of London is amazing. I mean,
okay, but wait a minute, isn't it only on AMC Plus?
Yes, it's only on AMC Plus.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I haven't been able to see it. Yeah,
it will be on AMC Linear, but not until spring-ish.
Okay.
Like over here, I'm assuming.
I was gonna say by that time I'll forget that you guys have told me about it. No,
don't worry, we won't.
You know what I mean? The spoiler lines.
We're probably gonna re-review it before it comes out on linear. It is.
No, I meant the spoiler lines because I heard about it and I was like,
I'm not gonna spoil the twist. Okay. The twist, okay. I'm trying. Like, Jasmin hasn't finished it, but I have. But like I said to her, like, you've got to watch this. The twists are just so good at the end. Like, there's the gangs, and then there's something else which starts to rise up towards the end. Like, and I don't want to say what that is, but then that starts to take prominence towards the last few episodes. So yeah, if you haven't watched Gangs of London, it's probably one of the best TV shows I've seen all year. Like, action, choreography, just how clever it is, the script, the acting, it is good. And I tell you what, some of those twists that happen at the end, like, honestly, I just did not see coming. In the last sort of 20 minutes of episode 8, I was like shock after shock. I was just like, these people that created this show were not afraid to pull the trigger on their twists, and I literally mean pull the trigger. So that's all I'm going to say. It's one of the best shows going. So yeah, like, you know, best shows of 2020. So well, that sort of starts to bring us to the close of the Geeks and Niche Christmas special. It's been amazing to have not just myself and Jasmin, joined by obviously Jasmin and myself, joined by Robbie and Peggy and Stephen. Again, it's been amazing. So before we start to close, the 3 of you would like to shout out sort of any social medias and anything you've got coming up that, you know, would be just great to hear. Peggy, do you want to quickly shout out yours?
Sure. My Twitter is at Pegs at the Movies, and Instagram is Peggy at the Movies. Just real quick, I've got I review for, you know, various things, Cherry Picks approved, so you'll always find stuff from me on the Cherry Picks. And the Cherry Picks is really great because it's all different female and non-binary critics coming together to post their stuff. It's, you know, a great place to go. If you ever want to just, and they have some random things sometimes that I've never, you know, heard of. They've got great insight on it. So it's an interesting site.
Robbie, I know you've got something coming up in half an hour.
Yeah, I'm about to be talking about Gremlins for an hour and a half, so that's really exciting. So yeah, Pop Culture Philosophers is a YouTube channel. We have a podcast that will be returning in 2021 because we only did one episode this year. But we got lots of content on YouTube. I do a weekly comic book review where I read a lot of new comic books every single week and let you know what I thought about them. I do weekly pop culture wrap-ups where we wrap over the comic book, TV, and movie news of the week. We have live movie reviews that we do most Friday nights. We have a live show that I do on Sunday nights, Rock and Robbie Live, which is the hypest place to be Sunday nights on YouTube. So popculturephilosophers.com is our website, and you can follow me on Twitter at the Rock and Robbie.
I watch Robbie's content, or I can't watch all the live shows because it comes out way too late for me. But I do generally watch it back like later on. I love the weekly videos though. I am amazed that one man can read so many comics in 1 week. So it's incredible to me. I struggle to get through about 10 a week, so it's amazing to me to see it. But no, what I love is though someone like who can put that content together for me to be able to actually say, no, that shit sounds like something I want to read. So yeah, no, cheers for putting that out. And Stephen, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just all the different social media platforms on Fox Storytelling. I work as an independent comic creator, and I'm currently working on two different series on YouTube. I'm chronicling kind of my process in a series I'm called Making Comics, yeah, that's where I post all of my different progress from how I outline stories all the way up to layouts and even dealing with discouragement, because I think that's a pretty common theme for creatives. So,
yeah, I can imagine actually. So you can also follow myself and Jasmin. We're online ourselves, but we are Geeks Unleashed on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And as a reminder, don't forget our second podcast series. We tackle some of the most essential graphic novels of all time. So our third Late to the Party book club episode was Brian Lee O'Malley's Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, where we were joined by Robbie, the Pop Culture Philosophers. That episode dropped at the beginning of December, so be sure to check that out. And our next graphic novel that we're going to be covering will be Monstrous, The Awakening, and that's going to be sometime January 2021.
You can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you do listen and you do love it, give us 5 stars. It'd be most appreciated.
Thanks so
anyway,
much,
just brings us to the end. And I'd love to see to everyone that's listening, have a good Christmas and a happy new year. Yeah. We'll be back in 2021.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Station.
Like, yeah. Bye, everyone.
Have a wonderful night.
Yeah.
Year.